Welcome back to the Living Transplant podcast. In September 2022, we launched Great Actions Leave a Mark, a national multi-year public awareness campaign about living organ donation and transplantation. It has images and videos of living kidney and liver donors and recipients from across Canada. In the coming weeks, you'll hear stories from Great Actions models about their journey with living organ donation. In this episode, I was joined by Ashley Hebert, a world traveler and horseback rider who donated a kidney anonymously to a stranger. Please enjoy. Welcome back to the Living Transplant podcast. I'm so excited to have Ashley here with me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm wondering if you can tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
My name is Ashley Hebert. I'm a living kidney donor. I live in Vancouver, in Canada. I like to horseback ride. I have a horse, so I horseback ride a lot.
And what's your horse's name?
His name is Solo.
Oh, Solo. I love that.
I just was there today in the rain and came home and got dried off for this.
Way to go, Solo. You're worth the rain.
Yes.
That's awesome. So you said that you are a living kidney donor. How did that all begin?
6 years ago, I had been introduced or invited to a Facebook group for the wife of someone I had gone to high school with. So I hadn't seen him in, I think it was 13 years. And the Facebook group was because she needed a kidney. She had polycystic kidney disease, and it had been discovered shortly after she gave birth to her third child. Yeah, so she started having complications during the pregnancy, and then after the birth, they discovered that it was polycystic. And so she wasn't doing so well. So it was less than a year later, and she was on dialysis, and they decided that she needed a transplant. Yeah, so I had heard about her on Facebook. That's how it started.
You heard about this story. How did you eventually get to the process where you decided, I think this is something that I want to look into?
Yeah. I messaged the husband right away because I knew him. And I still have the Facebook message, and it basically just said my blood type. I was like, I'm this blood type. Can she have my kidney? Because I had no idea about what the process was. I messaged right away. My thinking was that I'm highly emotional right now. Sorry. My thinking was thinking about myself or my partner, and if we needed a kidney. In the write-up on what she needed was pretty clear that for whatever reason, friends and family that knew her either weren't eligible or weren't willing to donate to her. And I thought about if it was me or my partner and what that would be like. And I was like, you know what? If I needed a kidney, I would have a resume printed and I'd go door to door. Like, hi, I need a kidney. And my thinking was along the lines of, would I feel like I was worthy of taking a stranger's kidney? Because that's essentially what it was going to be, is a stranger. And I believed, yes, that, yeah, I would be willing to take a kidney stranger. And I would take a stranger's kidney, sorry. If I needed one and nobody could donate to me that knew me, I would definitely take a kidney from a stranger. Absolutely. I think that I'm worth that. And just realizing that what would be the proof that I would be worth that? Nobody would ever know. And I just know. So if I believe that, then I'd have to be willing to do it for someone else, was basically the thinking. Yeah. And so I messaged him right away, and he was like, I can't do anything. Reach out to the transplant team. And that's really how it started. I reached out that day. It was like, yeah, it was right away. It was I think it was in November. I guess it would be 7 years ago now in November that I reached out. Yeah.
And so you reached out to the transplant team with not a lot of knowledge of what would happen, right?
Yeah.
What incurred to make it so that you donated?
So much blood testing. So much blood testing. It's crazy. It started with blood testing. There was a small mistake that was made. They misread our blood charts and said that we were a match, a direct match.
Oh.
And it turned out that we weren't a direct match. We found out a couple months later. So there's a lot of blood that was taken. I don't even know all the tests that they ran with that to make sure that I was healthy. And then when we found out that we weren't actually a match is when they did the antibody test. So they took her blood and mine and they mixed them together. And that day because we both had to have our blood taken at the same time, and we lived about an hour and a half away from each other, but we decided like that was the day that we would meet, because it was, if our blood is mixing, then maybe we should mix. So we met, which was amazing. And then we found out that we weren't actually compatible. There had been a mistake. The transplant team called me and said, "You're not a match. We made a mistake. Like, you can call them or we can call them and let them know and maybe think about it for a little while, but there is always paired exchange." And I was like, that's fine. I don't really know her. So why not? What does it matter? I just met her like last week. So we went into paired exchange, and then, which is great. And if I had known about paired exchange before, I probably would have just gone that route, because it's so amazing how they can find such great matches.
So for people who don't know what the paired exchange program is, what would that be?
Yeah, so paired exchange, it's so hard to explain without a visual diagram. I find that like visual diagrams are so great, but basically groups of two. So like myself, who's the willing donor, and my intended recipient, who were not a direct match, go into a computer system, and a whole bunch of groups of two, or sometimes people go in single, who are completely altruistic donors who don't have any connection at all, will go into the computer system, and the computer basically does a shuffle and finds the best matches. So it's based on so many things that I don't even know. I don't know all the technicalities, but I know that it finds the best match for everyone that it's able to. And so I donated to another stranger, and that stranger's intended donor donated to somebody else. And it can be as simple as like a group of 4, or it can be a really long chain. I think our chain was, I think it was 12 people in total. I know that it was a complex chain. So yeah, so that's how that works. My blood type is B positive, so it's slightly more rare. And because I'm a donor, I guess they said that my kidney was pretty quickly pulled from the computer system. They told me it would be in the fall that we would probably be doing surgery or hear anything. And we heard a week later, and we were in surgery in the beginning of August. So they happened really fast. Once we were in the computer, it was very fast for us, which isn't always normal.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so you donated your kidney. How did you feel after doing that, after waking up, knowing you were one less piece?
Yeah. Emotionally, I felt great.
Yeah.
I was really happy. I think they warn you that you might feel depressed after, or sad, because it's this whole buildup and this excitement, and then you feel physically not so great, which I did feel physically pretty awful for about a week.
Yeah.
But emotionally, I was fine. I was excited. I have some really funny pictures of me like hooked up to things, like smiling and half awake. And I was like, take my picture. I'm so happy.
That's amazing.
So I felt really good. I didn't have any of the kind of come down after the surgery. Physically, it's a big surgery, and they take an organ out of you.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel super great for the first week. But after the first week, it was okay. I was pretty good after the first week. Tired, but once you learn how to like sit up and move around without causing yourself pain, it's pretty good.
Yeah. You're 7 years out from the transplant now, and we launched the Great Actions campaign in September. Why did you decide to participate in the campaign?
Well, I do anything that BC Transplant asked me to do. So they let me know about it. Okay. Every email they send me, I say, okay. So that's one reason. But the main reason why I volunteer with them and why I want to share is, one is that, yeah, I'm years out and I'm doing really well. And I know that there's people living now, a person who has my kidney and a person who I donate on behalf of, who are doing really well.
Mm.
I've met the person with my kidney too, so I know that they're doing really well too. And that's amazing. I had always thought that you had to be like, when you're like a kid, like a high school kid, and people are like, would you ever donate an organ? Would you ever give your kidney? Like, it's something that like comes up when you learn about it. And everybody always says, yeah, I would do it for my family, or maybe no, if they're really afraid. But most people say, sure, I would do it for my family. I think most people think you can only donate to your family or a close friend. I think there's like this idea that they won't let you donate if you don't know the person. And I had no idea. I had no clue. And when I got that invite, I was like, oh, cool, we can do this. I was 30 years old, and I'm a relatively young donor for the donor programs, I think. But I also know that I would have done it earlier had I known. Like, I probably would have gone in altruistically if I had known. It just feels like it's just a great program. I'm really healthy. And like I said, I would take that kidney if I needed it. So I really believe in put out what you want to get back.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that I was invited to that group, because who knows, right? I've never been invited to another group. So maybe I never would have known that I never would have been in this community and known. Now I hear about it all the time, but only because I'm in the community. I just feel like the more people that learn about how you don't have to know someone, or you don't have to know them well, or you don't even have to have ever heard of someone, you can just look into it. And also that age doesn't matter. I think there's a lot of people think they're too young. We aren't planning to have children, but I was very reassured that if we ever do want to have children, that's okay. A lot of people have said, well, you have to have kids first. I haven't had kids. And it was made very clear to me that is not a barrier to donation. So I think there's like age stigma, whether you're too young or too old, or you have to know the person, or they have to be related. And I'm not any of those things. So or at least when I donated, I was like younger, and there's just so many things that, yeah, I think can be helpful for people who might have this similar mindset, but not know all the facts.
So do you have any advice for somebody who, let's say, is in a similar situation that you were? They're scrolling through Facebook and they see somebody who is in need. What would your advice be for potential donors?
Go to a Facebook page. There's a whole bunch of living donor Facebook pages.
Yes.
I can't think of them off the top of my head, but if you go on Facebook and look up like living donor, there's a million of them. There's Canadian-based ones, there's international-based ones. I wish that I had thought to do that before. Not that I really needed to. I was very solid in my decision to donate. I had like no questions. I just knew that I wanted to do it. But it is just a wealth of information. Everybody wants to share, and there's going to be good and bad. You're going to hear everything. But I think if you're a person who's looking into it and you're open-minded, you can take all the information and ask questions. And I think it's a really good place to gather information from people who have done it before. Or if you know someone, you can also reach out to like BC Transplant or another transplant center like near where you live, and they can give you so much information. I think that can be sometimes overwhelming. I knew that I wanted to do it, but I remember my partner, when we were at the transplant center receiving information, he was so overwhelmed by the amount of clinical and medical information. And that's kind of why I say find a support group and ask questions, because sometimes you reach out, I think, if you're unsure or you just want a little bit more information, and do both. But having a human who's not got that medical degree, who's not just give you like really how it feels, I think is really important. But both are obviously really good sources of information. Or like I said, if you know someone who's been through it, there's so many people. Now that I'm a donor, anytime that people find out, they always know someone who's either donated or had a donation. It's crazy. Like and people don't talk about it a lot. I think just ask people. Yeah.
That's great. And is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah. So recipient wise, my intended and my actual recipient are both doing great. I know that they're both doing really well. I don't have a ton of communication with them both because life is crazy, but they're both doing wonderful. Working and living really good lives. The intended recipient has 3 children from high school to like very young, only 7 years old now. And that completely changed her life. Being able to be a mom and not be on dialysis every night at home. She's back at work. The woman who has my kidney, her child was a teenager when she was really ill, and it completely her child was asking like, what do I do if you die, mom? And the kidney completely changed both of their lives. One thing that I think is really important is I think a lot of people always are really worried about not just what happens right after your surgery, but like years down the line. And first, right after surgery, like I took 2 months off work because I have a really physical job. I was told that I didn't have to. If I had a desk job, I could have gone back within a couple of weeks, but because I lift things for work, I had to be careful. But I was traveling alone in Sicily and Malta like a month after my surgery because my friend decided to have a really fast wedding in Malta and called me and was like, I'll pay for your flight. And I was like, I'm not working anyways. I might as well just go travel. Amazing. So I was like traveling around alone. I was jumping off cliffs within less than 2 months.
Amazing.
They said I could. They said I could. Fine.
I said I could. Asterisks, right?
Yeah. They said I could go diving. So I figured it would be fine to go jump off a cliff. I was traveling all over and hiking, and I had an amazing trip by myself. My partner couldn't join me. It was too last minute, and it didn't hold me back at all, the surgery. I just couldn't lift my suitcase above my head to put it in the overhead, so I had to ask for help for that. Other than that, I did everything I wanted to. And then with my work, like I own a house painting business, and I have a horse, so I'm working with large animals all the time and like lifting ladders and paint, and I was back to work in 2 months and I've been fine. I think a lot of people worry that they're going to, I may be tired sometimes, but maybe I'm tired anyways. I don't know. I don't know what the tiredness is from life, probably. Yeah. It doesn't stop me from living my life. The donation hasn't stopped me from working or having a very full and active life. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that. So I think that's really important for people to know that you can still climb ladders and wrangle horses.
Jump off cliffs in Malta.
And jump off cliffs and go diving. And
diving.
Yeah. I think those are important things because I think that freaks people out a little bit.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have to say too, I say this to all of the donors that I meet. It's just remarkable to see how healthy you look, and also to hear about your why you donated, because it can be really scary for us recipients to think about somebody putting themselves in potential harm's way to save us. And that incredibly courageous and generous offer and then gift that you've given is just amazing. And it changes lives. And you've been able to see some recipients now, but there's just no limit to what we're able to do post-transplant. And so thank you from all of us recipients. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It's so amazing, isn't it?
It is.
It's so amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had said people who are nervous about asking like loved ones or family to do this. And I had said that wasn't really my story because none of these people knew me. But I think the thing is like people crying again. People want to help. And the surgery is a major surgery, yes, but it's also, a lot of people live really great and normal lives after. Most people do. And I think people who love you would want to try and help, right? And I don't know, the statistics, go and look at the statistics. I'm not going to give them because I don't know them, but most people come through the surgery really well, and on the donor side, right? And I think everybody's worth it. So whether it's a stranger or if it's somebody that you know, it's even more worth it. Like, I would definitely do it for somebody that I know, and if they didn't let me, then I would do it anonymously. Because they're not allowed, the transplant team isn't allowed to tell you. So just, yeah, I think just know that people love you. And yeah, I don't know. It's great. It's really awesome.
It is. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing today and for being part of the Great Actions campaign and for your amazing gift. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy that there are so many people who have gotten to be involved in it, and we get to hear everyone's unique stories because every single one of them is so beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
Aren't they?
It's so amazing. Like, everybody that I meet in the transplant community is just, I don't know, there's so much gratitude and so much like love, and yeah, all the stories are so cool.
Thank you so much for listening to Ashley's story from our Great Actions Leave a Mark campaign. For more information about Great Actions and to view all of the amazing stories, visit www.greatactions.ca. If you have your own story you'd like to share, please reach out to us at livingorgandonation@uhn.ca. And don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like our podcast. Thanks for listening.